they instilled in me discipline, and I had a brother, younger brother, and they sent us to the Antigua Grammar School. When you travel at 18, you're black. You travel at 18, you go to Germany. You walk into a factory where you see tools that you've never seen before. Did not want to stay in those places to further my education, right? I just do not like the cold. I just don't like the cold. I don't like snow.
Yeah.
I have bad habits. I don't put on gloves.
Yeah.
I remember one time going on a bus in Canada where I had to do so to the conductor for him to take out my wallet.
Because your fingers.
But yeah. So I did like that, yeah. But and getting married at 28, I just made that decision that I'll spend the money, and I use my experience to influence my children, you know.
Yes.
Right. So that was it.
Okay. And so is your business a family business?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what's that been like, running a family business in Antigua?
It's difficult. It's difficult in the sense that I don't want to call myself an entrepreneur. I prefer to say a pioneer.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was writing software at a time when it was unheard of, right? And some persons did not believe, I think. I think I have evidence that you could get software maybe of that quality written
Here.
Yeah. And, you know, just slowly, it became the best-selling payroll solution. There's some contracts I did not get because I think, to use the some people bad talk me, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but it was, as I said, I have done it as a pioneer, and I know I had to not fail, not for myself, but for the people who come behind of me. And this is where it's nice to have Consti and some other persons, you know. So this was basically my experience. My experience was to try and have a good family, develop my children along a particular line. With some things I never said to them. I never said, obey me. I didn't want unconditional obedience. And when it comes to the girls, I made an effort not to interfere with their sexuality. You know, so you bring them up, you know, appreciating their own sexuality. Because at that time, it was more like if you're female, you're inferior. So I think I did that. And you spoke to my daughter yesterday, Fiola.
Yes.
Right, yeah. And so I gave them that opportunity. Guidance, yes, but to develop themselves as women, yeah.
So may I ask, because I feel like that's a very un-Caribbean thing to do, even though we're very, I don't want to say, we are sexual beings, but we're very, sexuality is a big part of our culture, right? We're free beings, we dance, we move, we use our bodies a lot, right? But yeah, or a lot of our parenting styles feels conservative. Why was it important? I don't know if that's true in Antigua.
I think that is generally true.
Yeah. So why was it important for you to be intentional about how you raise your daughters and children?
Yeah, you spoke about what was intentional and what was accidental in a kind of way. And I met my father when I was 39, right? He left me when I was, 2 years old, and 3 women brought me up. And so I think I was lucky, because some of my friends, when I told them about my father, say, you're lucky. You follow me? Yeah. So I did not have, let's say, a rough father over me. I had 3 ladies who brought me up, you know. And my mom, I saw how my mom had to struggle, I think from an early age. I made a decision that I would never treat a woman badly, you know. So that was the lucky influence I had, if you want to call it lucky.
Yes.
Right, yeah. And so I decided, I started with 3 girls and then I got a boy, right? And so that influenced me to say, look, I keep telling you, you're not inferior. Not because you're a woman, you're not inferior.
Yeah.
You know, gave them all the opportunities, you know, and so forth. So that is where the initial influence came from. My grandmother, my mom, and my aunt.
That's amazing. And I've had the privilege of speaking to one of your daughters, Fiola, and she shared a bit of her experience where she went to Cuba, for example, she had an amazing opportunity for a full scholarship for medicine. It just didn't work out for her. And you actually encouraged her to go do some, was it IT certification?
IT, yeah, IT.
So as a parent, right, it sounds like you're just amazing at raising kids. But it can also be hard because you put a lot into them, put them out into the world, and you have hopes for them apart from your expectations, right? So the question is, how do you turn around their degree that you sent them out for didn't work out? How do you, like, what's going through your mind? And then at what point do you decide to give her an option and say, do this and then come work for me?
I don't want to take all the credit.
Okay.
Because my wife is just remarkable,
Yes.
right? So I don't want to take all the credit.
Can we pause and big her up? Big up Mrs. Jardine.
Yeah.
Big up Mrs. Jardine.
Big up Mrs.
Yes,
Jardine.
all right. Continue.
Yeah, she's incredible. She took them to the bookstore and she purchased a lot of books, and they were always reading, right? A lot of books, and they always reading. She was that. However, Fiona had an opportunity, she might have told you, to study medicine in Cuba, but she had asthma, and that kept her, she has more time out, right?
Yeah.
And so she had to leave Cuba, and she came home. She said, oh, I'm going to do that. I said, look, I'll pay for you if you want to do it. You know, your dad is an IT, a software developer. And she did it. She knocked it off. And the day she graduated, she got a call from University of Phoenix. She got a call from the university. And they spoke to her for about 2 hours. They told her what she did was exceptional. Very few persons would have passed that degree 4 years non-stop without missing a beat. And she did that, yeah. And my other daughter, she didn't want to study IT. She went and she got a degree in business with a specialization in sports, because at 19, she had a black belt. At 19, she had a black belt, right? So she did business, and then I used to say, Safia, why don't you study IT? I'm trying to build a family business, right? You understand?
Yes.
She decided that she's going to do business, and she graduated, and subsequently, you know, she recognized she can't get a job in the States. Everywhere she goes, she said, Daddy, they're asking me, it said if I had a degree in IT. So she went back and she got a master's in medical and health informatics, right? And then my third daughter, she was a writer. At 14, she had already 15, she had 2 novellas, right? So she wanted to be a journalist. So I said to her, a journalist? Why do you want to be a journalist? If you're a lawyer, you can be a journalist if you're a lawyer, right? And a very good friend of mine, when she was leaving, came by and he brought a law book. I gave it to her. The first year while she was in the UK, she just kept crying, I don't want to be a lawyer, I don't want to be a lawyer. And then after a year, she just stayed. That's what she told me. She said, look, Daddy's spending and Mommy's spending the money, so let me just get this degree. So she did law. She did it so well that the university advised her that she could go straight to a PhD. So they gave her a 2-year period to do the MPhil to see how she did, and then she went straight into the PhD. And when we went to England for graduation, this was amazing. She was the only black person, the only person with PhD in the faculty for the period, and she was the last person in the line. And time stood still. Yes. Right? The dean would not let go of her hand. Right? And so, yeah, these are some of the experience we had, right? And so you understand some of these things, that you make good decisions. And I want to say that I want to emphasize that I want all the credit. Yes. Because my wife is just amazing. Yes. When it comes to raising children, I call her mother hen. You know mother hen? Yes. Yeah. I believe. Yeah, so it was that was basically the experience. Okay. Yeah. All right. So now to youth empowerment. We want to talk about pool and I want to talk about youth empowerment. So let's talk about pool first. So what did pool symbolize to you growing up? At 16 you started. Was it just a game you played with your friends, or did you intend to compete and become a trainer and all these things? No, it's strange. When I was 16, a young boy, 11 years old, took me into what we call a rum shop and say, Jado, that was My name, they call me Jado and Sajads. That's what they tell me. That's a pool table. And at 16, I started playing. The first time I was called conceited was after 2 weeks when I started telling his older brother that I'm better than he is. He said, you just start playing for 2 weeks and you believe you're better than I am. The point was I just learned it naturally, right? I learned it naturally at 16. And the young man who showed me the game, he was 11, 5 years younger than I, and he was already playing for 2 years. And so by the time I was 18, remember I left Antigua maybe 18, and I left Antigua and I came back in 76 or so. So I didn't really play that much because I had to study, etc.
Yes.
But I just learned the game quickly. By the time I was 23, I was a national champion. Right?
Yeah.
So within 5 years, going to Germany, going to Canada, and then coming back home, I became a national champion. And around that time also, I was a national champion with dominoes.
Really?
I had a partner by the name of Vernon Foot, and we played great dominoes together.
Yeah.
And we did not play with sign. Right? I stopped playing dominoes because of that.
Yeah, because people would.
Yeah, I went to Barbados as the national champion of Antigua and recognized that people were playing with science. And I said, no, I don't. That's not a challenge for me. So I stopped and just concentrate on software development, right? And then subsequently, a friend called me about 2010. I had retired, stopped playing. But the moment I got married, 28, I basically eased off playing pool, serious pool. And a friend called me and told me that there's a young man who's very keen about developing association. And so, yeah, being consistent with the youth development, I said, I have to participate. I went to the first meeting. I was impressed the way the young man spoke.
Yes.
And I said I would help. He became the president, the young man, I became the vice president. And I said that I would go away. I took the money out of my pocket, I went away, and I became an instructor. I first became a recognized instructor, a billiards instructor. My instructor felt that I was so good that he advocated for me to become a certified instructor in 1 year instead of 2. Yeah, so I came home in a year and I had to train and send back the records of the training, and then I went back to Illinois, did a second exam.
Yeah.
And it so happened that this guy who trained
There's
me,
an exam?
yeah, he had a college, it was a pool college. Yeah, he had a
Sorry, give me a minute to digest. I know it's serious, but I'm just thinking, oh, it's just something people play in the bar.
No, it's a
but
highly,
it's serious business.
No, it's highly scientific
Oh my
game,
God.
right?
I know, I'm not belittling, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, right.
You know?
Yeah, because when I was in Canada too, I mean, now you bring that back. When I was in Canada, I went to the Canadian National Exhibition because at that time it was Cliff Thorburn was the Canadian snooker champion, and he was a world beater. And the Canadian National Exhibition, I decided I have to go. Now I come up playing pool against my parents' upbringing. This was where I went off. I was so attracted to this game that I'll go in the rum shop, sit down on a stool, watch press. By the time I go into the grammar school, after school, I'll go and watch. When the adults finish playing, I take up a few balls and hit it. Yeah, and so I find myself now at 20 in Canada and go to this exhibition. I saw something that I didn't know.
What's that?
The players had on a jacket
The
and
dress.
waistcoat and bow tie, elegant players. I said, wow, this is a rum shop game back home, right? This was a rum shop, and you gotta hope you don't speak in your sleep when you go home because your grandparents would know where you were, right? Yeah, and so I was influenced by that, that there was an elegant, sophisticated side to the game, right? It was not just a hustler's game as, reading books coming out of America, they romanticize the hustlers, the pool hustler, right? But I saw it at a different level. So having retired and been called, I said I'd like to see if I could elevate it at this level. So I even purchased these tables to try to elevate it. These are full-size, official size tables, 4.5 feet by 9. I purchased that just trying to elevate the game, Yeah, and so I decided I'll go and be an instructor. So I went to this college and I got my first certification, a recognized instructor. And as I said, the man who owned the college and taught me, the senior instructor, he was also on the executive of the BCA, the Billiard Congress of America.
Okay.
So he, his wife when his wife saw me, she said, you're going to be a good instructor. He said, you're going to be a great instructor. I don't know if I have done that, but I decided that is what I would want to pass on to the next generation. Because I'm always thinking about passing the baton, next generation.
Yes.
I'm preoccupied with that, maybe overly sometimes.
Why is that important to you? Where did that come from? When did that start?
It might have been the childhood I've had. There are times when the positive comes out of the negative. You could imagine growing up and never own a bike. You see, your father was not there, he never owned a bike, and all the kids had a bike. You understand? So out of that negative, right, that need, I decided that my dad was my best role model, or anti-role model for that time. You understand? So I'm always preoccupied with helping the next generation. I call it passing the baton. To me, that's, what else need to do but to make the world a better, for the next generation. I don't think there's anything else.
I agree. I love this. I just think it's something, especially for someone who's had 4 children. Sometimes I say, well, I raised my 4 and they're decent human beings and that's it. But you're, like you said, preoccupied with youth empowerment in general, and I think it's important.
Well, as I said, I came up with this idea in 2014, and I didn't call it youth empowerment because most of what persons are doing here is also about the money component. So I call it youth enlightenment. And the whole idea was to produce a better citizen. That was the whole idea, right? Because you tend to see, I think, I've seen young people here learning to be entrepreneurs. And they've lost their innocence too soon. They're to hustlers. They probably try to sell ice to their Eskimos and to their grandparents. So I think it's the wrong sequence. I think the sequence is to make a human being first. Someone who has a connection to humanity and to society.
But Mr. Jardine, I agree, but you don't think it's a little unrealistic with what things cost today? Like, my question then is, I agree, but do you understand it? Like, you understand why they have to be that way?
No, they don't have to be that way.
Okay, tell me
right?
why.
You will see in the world today leaders, right? You could talk about Donald Trump, for example, right? You'll see once a society and the world start losing, right? I mean, we grew up on an idealism that perhaps don't make sense. Man isn't be able to take you around the world. But we had these initial African concepts or precepts that, it's character. It was about character. It's not to say that we are perfect. You follow me? But what I have found out in my studies overseas, if you motivate people, if you're inspirational, you motivate people, what they will do in terms of acquiring knowledge when they have a love for knowledge and wisdom. Because our education system is about knowledge, not necessarily about wisdom. And wisdom is something that if you wait to learn it, it's too late. You need to have that connection with the generation before you, the elders, to pass wisdom. It's easy to learn. I think coming out of our history, I understand it. We are preoccupied that we want our children to do such and such and such and such, academically. I understand it because we were deprived. But in the same time, we gave up, maybe in my view, in some way we gave up that character building, right? Yeah. So, and I don't think it conflicts, right? I think it builds the foundation.
Right.
Because that is what I saw from my children, motivated children who built on top of that foundation. Not to say, I don't want to give an impression that we're perfect. I just want to say, philosophically, we said this is a priority. The priority is that we want you to be a good citizen.
Okay.
Because we took the position that you must not be a problem in society. That's the priority. Not be a problem in society. You must be an asset to society. And then you build on that. right? And I feel like from what I see now, a lot of youngsters are void of that.
Yeah.
They're quite educated now, very smart
Right.
and educated,
Great.
but they're void of that connection. I think with their humanity and the society, etc. Right?
I agree.
Yeah.
It's kind of
And
sad.
I want to say one stuff in passing. I think when I go to the stadium and jog for Repatriate Stadium, right? And where people just dump
Rubbish.
rubbish.
My good, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm unrealistic. It's such a pet peeve. And or when you are driving
Yeah.
and they throw rubbish out the
Yeah,
window.
yeah.
Do you know everywhere you go, if you're going to stop somewhere, I'm guaranteed it has a bin there. I'm sure at that field there is a bin somewhere along. Is it that hard to just hold it till you get to the
No,
bin?
that's because you're not connected. You're disconnected from society or from your heroes.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
you really think it doesn't affect you, or is that what do you
no,
mean?
I don't say not affect you. I think you're just disconnected.
But how does one get disconnected? Because the parents don't instill? Like, what do you think it is?
I don't think it's the parents. I tend to say society. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
I have a granddaughter, and when she was about 4 years old, we took her jogging at the Vivian Richards Stadium. And when we went to the car park, she said, "Grandpa Lawrence, oh, littering, look how persons stroll." Her school is big on it. You follow me? I didn't have that in school.
Got you.
You follow me?
Yeah.
So I think you have to cultivate it. So
Yes.
it's the stick and the carrot,
Yes.
so to speak. You cultivate it, and then there'll be a punishment because you know better. Now, for me, who grew up with Viv Richards and think so highly of him, whenever I see the stadium, if I had to dump anything there, I believe I'm doing him a disservice. Right? I'm disrespecting this shrine from this great man. If you don't have that connection. So I don't think it's like to just say people are naturally dirty or naturally that. I
Yeah.
think is that you're just not connecting.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, I think it's so interesting because one of the things they've studied, there's a school in Jamaica in Old Harbor that, sorry, this will seem random, but promise is connected, where he raised the performance of the school just by raising them to be conscious of their environment and how they carry themselves. And it's been studied that you are likely to perform better, for example, mood will improve when you have a cleaner environment. And so I just find it very interesting that we know that people enjoy going to very polished places, right? It's one of the draws of like the US, for example, major places that are kept very clean, right? Or like malls or whatever, things that are highly developed looking, right? Shiny. But we have an opportunity to treat our own spaces that way, and yet we choose to actually just dump rubbish. So I don't have, I hear your reasoning for why it's like that.
I'm not saying that one should not. There's some things you should learn
Yeah.
and mature, right? Well, let me say you learn, not you're not being taught or teach, right?
Yeah.
But you learn it from just being in a society.
Yeah.
So you should learn,
Yeah.
right? But if maybe you don't have a strong guilt complex, you follow me, and it's
Yeah.
not part of the culture, there's no ticketing system for it, you know, maybe you can, you know, there's no fear of being.
But that makes it even worse because the Caribbean people are so clean. They're so clean. Like my space needs to be clean. My house will wake up. You see people wake up and sweep. If it's dirt yard, they get up and sweep the dirt yard anyway. So it's just I feel like I'm going on and on. But
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
anti.
You're absolutely. You're absolutely right. When I was in Germany as a teenager,
Yeah.
the landlady was mad with us because we had a shower every day.
Yes.
Imagine, you're the landlady to 5
Men.
teenagers
Yeah.
that go in the shower for 20 minutes and
Yeah.
run in water and hot water, right? And that was it. And that was a fact. I remember the first time, say, you know, you guys shower for too often and too long. You follow me? So there's that contradiction,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
About personal care, but maybe if that space is not mine,
Right. I don't.
yeah,
really need to take care.
yeah, I'm not part. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Jardine, I appreciate all the things you've shared. So we're coming to the end of our interview, and I want you to give tips at this point. I think you shared a lot of gems, but the first thing I want a tip on is being a pioneer. If you had to give one tip for somebody who wants to be a pioneer in a small island or anywhere, what tip would you give?
From my experience, it's a commitment to some level of excellence and a preoccupation that you're going to pass a baton. And know that when you're a pioneer, you don't have a lawnmower or power mower. You have a cutlass. You know, you have the old things that you use to cut grass. You clear the way.
And maybe it's dull, maybe
Yes,
it's not sharp.
right. You don't have a proper file and tool for sharpening. So this is why I like the word being a pioneer. I think some persons, they say entrepreneurship too soon and you lose your innocence. In other words, to believe that you are going to reap the successes immediately in a lifetime, it doesn't work like that. Right? You create something for someone else to inherit. I think if you have that concept, you know, so that's what I share with young people. Also, you'll see in one of the documents I wrote, one of the problems we notice in Antigua is that family business do not go beyond the first, second generation if you're lucky. In the other communities that we live with, the Lebanese, the Syrians, you see they take, right?
Yeah,
so
succession.
even succession, right? We tend to, you get a degree, I'm not in merchandising anymore, let me move on. We drop that business, right? You don't continue it and say, okay, I can get a degree, I can become a politician, but this is still the traditional, something you hold on, not to hold on to something that is failing, but you can make it better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, or if you really did carve out, you had, what's the word? You had a market share, for example, and
That's
people were
right.
coming to you for this thing, and then
Right.
you, Mr. Jardines, had the lock on this thing.
Yeah.
And really, like you're saying, a generation would just let it
go. Yeah, I think that's very common here. So I don't know how we're going to solve that problem, but you'll see it on Market Street where they group all the local businesses, they're not there anymore. And you can bet your last dollar, all the offspring have tertiary degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But we dropped that. So there's really no continuum.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we complain when we see Chinese, Lebanese, Syrians, or the ethnicities taking over.
Yeah, buying
right?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that sense also, you find that many of us who would have lived overseas and accumulate some finance, we don't come back and invest. We don't come back and invest and create employment for the offspring. So you find this foreign direct investment and investors come in, you know, and we, as you say, we race into the bottom because we're competing with other islands, you know, and they're getting tax concessions that, you know, So that's one of the things I would talk about.
All right. And then a tip for someone who is ambitious, right? So you started working in this space and then you and your partners came together and bought it with, it's got so much, it's got warehouse space, it's got a studio, so much potential. What's your tip for someone who, I guess this does go with the pioneering, but someone who wants to develop things, make things that are tangible, but also that take time. This could also go for your development, for your software. What's your tip for someone for that?
It's about, you have to find something that you love as well, right? It's a balance between opportunity and what you love. Because sometimes, I have two friends, for example. One wanted to be a vet, and one wanted to be a medical doctor. But when the scholarship came, it went reverse. So the person who wanted to be a vet became a medical doctor, and the person who wanted to be the medical doctor became the vet, right? Became the vet. So it's that balance, right? So you're searching, you're always searching. It's not clear cut. But if perhaps you can educate yourself with some of the basic things, maybe if you read a lot, you master the language, you follow me? So you have the basis that you can be flexible and versatile, you understand? But you set out to find your way.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't come all the time, you know.
All right.
it doesn't come in a straight line all the time, right? And also,
So when that doesn't happen, what's your biggest tip? Is it patience? Is it, again, follow the passion, or what's the tip?
I don't think I could have a rule that would fit all. I can say if you're determined and you're honest about your abilities, you don't give up, right? When I say don't give up, you don't give up. You may give up pursuing something that's not working, but you don't give up finding your way.
Okay.
You fall, yeah. You don't give up finding your way.
Understood.
Yeah, you fall, you get up, and you go again.
All right.
You know.
All right, I hear you. Two more things. So the second to last one is about raising children who are, how did you put it? He talked about them being like human beings, good, not bad citizens, and also, I forget the language you use.
When I say you raise children to be good citizens.
Yes, good citizens, and also, no, but there was a part about like the humanity of them as well, like raising them about as people first, and then as, their profession or whatever other hopes you have for them. What are the tips, one or two tips you have for people who are potentially parents or grandparents, caretakers?
I tend to divide society into three portions. Young people, let's say, who are not productive, then a productive class, and then old people are not productive. The very nature is like that. So let's say from the womb until you're in school, you're not productive. You're living off of somebody, your parents, if you're lucky, or you're living off the society, the taxes, the levies, whatever. And then you may enter let's just say the middle class, the productive class, that you're working, you're paying your taxes, etc. And then you reach to a point where you can't help yourself anymore, right? So society is made up of this loop, right? It's made up of this loop that, let's say, that middle sector and the old sector looking after the young. And then the young in turn move into that, and they look after the old and the young. So that's nature, that's society. Society cannot function without the elderly or the older people, the parents looking after the young people, and then the young people in turn become and do that. So for the purpose of my argument, is 1/3 of the society that is productive.
Okay.
Looking after the other 66%, so to speak. You follow me? Now, if you learn that early, and perhaps you learn that by visiting old people, taking care of old people, look and see your aunt. I had a great aunt who told me that make sure my children call all my friends, Aunt Ruth, Uncle Cecil. So you make that connection. You make that connection that people looking after you, starting from your mother's milk, and then you have to pass forward, look back, etc. So if you miss that, I think if you miss that upbringing, then I don't think you understand yourself in society.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to look at the same. So that's what I.
All right. And then the very last thing, which is what we ask everybody, is about tips for repatriation. So when you are away for a little while and then you're coming back home, are there 3 tips that you have for people? It could be back to Antigua or anywhere else.
That's a difficult one. And one of the things I find with people who go away and come back, you may participate in other person's culture, not recognizing that culture maybe took 10, 15, 20, 100 years to build, right? And you fall into that culture, you embrace it, you internalize it, it becomes part of you. And so when you get back home now, you're somewhat arrogant, especially if you're a professional, not knowing that you inherit that culture, but you don't want to participate to build this culture. And I find that, a problem at times, and people who, some professionals. I mean, I stayed away a very short time, so I don't know what the impact was. So I was never far away from the society for a long time. But I think I am critical, but I tend not to be overly critical in a destructive way. It's to understand, that is that moment, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I would say it's to maybe invest in the country, right? I would advise persons who would have accumulated. Now, I divide Antigua into different parts. I don't say Antigua anymore. I say the African Antigua. So I'm talking about the African Antigua. I want to make it clear, right? Yeah. So I'm talking about the African Antigua. Is to participate in development. If you go overseas and you accumulate some wealth, come back here and do something and employ a few persons. You know.
Yeah,
that's
important.
Yeah.
Anything else? We said 3. You don't have to, but you
I
have
don't have
anything
3.
else.
What? I don't. That could be.
That could be
Come
it.
back here, assist, be modest, be critical, be helpful, keep the place clean. Just participate in the development of the society.
I love that.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So with that, we want to thank Mr. Jardine for his time and his wisdom. And if you haven't already, make sure you watch all our interviews from Antigua. It's different from our Jamaican ones.
Okay.
And the perspectives are a little different, and the system is a little different, even though we're similar, we're in the Caribbean. So with that, we'll see you next time on Repatriate Stories.